Let's bring in NBC senior Washington correspondent Hallie Jackson. And let's start right there because President Biden will get that thunderous ovation in the hall. But conventions are never about just who's watching in the hall, but who's watching from home. Biden is not popular, so they want to give him a proper send-off, but they want to thread that needle that Kamala Harris actually represents change. How are they going to do that?
Yeah, with a lot of support, with a big show of unity in the room, Savannah, because this is not President Biden's convention, but tonight it will be his moment. It's a really interesting dynamic here because keep in mind the audience there. Many Democrats had either pressured the president publicly or privately to step aside, to come off the ticket. There's a lot of symbolism in what's being described as this pass the torch moment tonight in this big show of unity that the Democratic Party, despite what you described, Savannah, of the lack of popularity for President Biden nationally as compared to what we're seeing in the polling for Vice President Harris, Democrats want to show that they have a united front, that they can move forward together. And the moment to watch, I think, is going to be when President Biden and Vice President Harris are expected to share the stage later on tonight, Savannah.
Well, let's talk about the state of the race. Kamala Harris is now leading in many battleground polls, although within that margin of error. She's still calling herself an underdog in the race. What are the facts? What is the dynamic right now?
Well, let's talk about the state of play here and the goals of this convention week. First goal is to introduce Vice President Harris, not as vice president, but as the presidential nominee. As one campaign source put it to me, the function of this week is to define her. But the other big goal here is to try to capture and keep some momentum moving forward. From Democrats I've spoken with, there's some excitement. They're feeling happy. They're feeling a lot of energy at this convention, and the polling helps. You heard about that national polling recently out this weekend, showing Harris gaining ground on former President Trump. She leads him on the issue of, for example, abortion access. Look for that to be in the spotlight tonight. You've got 3 women expected to share their very personal stories about the impact of reproductive rights. But Kamala Harris trails former President Trump on the issues of who people trust to handle the economy and immigration. And we know, Savannah, we've talked about this a lot. Those are the 2 biggest drivers for folks heading to the polls come November. Also watch for some of those protests to potentially have an impact on the overall vibe of the DNC as well, depending on how big they get.
Well, and let's talk about former President Trump. Very, very busy week on the campaign trail. He's getting some advice from allies like Lindsey Graham or Nikki Haley, who are saying, look, stay on message, get off these personal attacks and talk about policy. That's the way to win.
But that's not what he's doing, Savannah, and that is where you're seeing this frustration from Trump allies. You mentioned some of them publicly. A lot of them want him to focus on policy, to draw that contrast on issues where he leads, like the economy, like immigration, on what they see as Kamala Harris's too liberal record in the eyes of these Republicans. Instead, you've got the former president going after her appearance, her intelligence, her background. He's making those very controversial comments about Medal of Honor winners. This is not the reset moment that people in his orbit largely want to see, at least not right now. And it comes as he's heading into the busiest week of his campaign so far politically. He's got stops and events every day in key battlegrounds. He and his running mate are also trying to define Harris, Savannah, in obviously a different way than what Democrats are trying to do.
All right, lots to cover this week. Hallie, thank you. We'll see you in Chicago as well. NBC News will bring live coverage of this week's Democratic convention, including tonight's speech from President Biden. It gets started 10 o'clock Eastern here on NBC and, of course, streaming on NBC News Now.
Hey, thanks for watching. Don't miss the Today Show every weekday at 11 a.m. Eastern, 8 Pacific on our streaming channel, Today All Day. To watch, head to today.com/allday or click the link right here.